Hey everyone, it's your sketching pal Becky, and we're going on a little trip. So it is currently still on my week off in between jobs, and I decided that I was going to go somewhere a little bit further away from the city, even though technically it's not too far away. It only took like 30 minutes for me to really just get on a boat and go elsewhere. And honestly, I'm already on like a different island, like one of the outlying islands they call it here in Hong Kong. And it's been great. I think it's just, it's close enough for me to kind of know what's going on. Not that I speak the language exactly, but people here also still speak English. And it's just a great environment to just kind of be, it's like really different from the city side. So I think it's just good as like to have like that switch of environment, to have that mental shift that, you know, it is a break, and I am going out to sort of take a little holiday, even though it's just like a trip for a few hours. It's really weird, and I don't do this enough, but I don't take myself on solo dates quite often, in a sense that I would spend time alone, be comfortable, be journaling, be sketching, but I don't even like allow myself to eat out in places quite often by myself, because I think I just grew up in a really like scrappy household. So I always had the mentality that if I'm eating out, if I'm having coffee outside, it needs to be like with another person, because otherwise then it's overpriced and I'm like overpaying for something, which is not a cool thing to think about. I don't know, maybe it's just like psychology of how we think about like money and spending and all that. But you know, now that I have a job, I'm able to afford sort of just like 1 or 2 meals occasionally by myself, because why not? So that's kind of what I did today. I came over to this island, and then I treated myself to a nice little cafe meal, and it was really awesome, and I'm so glad that I did it. I didn't even end up sketching there because I just wanted to spend that time kind of enjoying the food, enjoying the coffee. And I think I'm gonna do this more often, because that would be nice, wouldn't it? So a couple of days ago, I was at this university giving a guest lecture, and I don't really go to that university often, or actually that's only like the second time that I went. And what happened was I was trying to focus on like sketching these like big landscapes, beautiful stuff. And I think what happened is I just get super overwhelmed by all the details and the vastness of things. And I end up not capturing like what Nathan Funk calls like the simple statement, or the really simple picture or image that I want to be conveyed in a sketch. And as a result, I wasn't really happy with that sketch, even though it was such a beautiful place. But I decided, like, you know what, even though I'm gonna be here with like amazing views of the sea, the mountains, and temples and everything, I am going to stick with something really simple, just downsize everything a little bit, focus on like one object, and that is what we're doing today. So the object that I picked is this boat, and it's really simple. It's got like a simple shape, and so I'm going to start off with a drawing, I think, because I think it's going to be really impossible to go into here straight with just brushes. But I think if I get all these like big shapes down, I can just fill in the rest with watercolor and kind of treat it as like a coloring book. So I knew that these handles of these benches are metal, and I do have an Art Toolkit palette that is also metal, and they would be magnetic, except there's no magnet on either of this, and this would move. But thankfully, I happened to bring these two magnets around, and this is actually more so because one of my Insta360 cameras is magnetic. But if I do this now, it just sticks. Like, I mean, it's not super firm, but it's good enough that it will not kind of move with just any regular force. So I am happy to have carried this, and I will continue to carry this in my bag. Since boats require a lot of measuring, or at least a lot of geometrical shapes kind of placed next to each other or relative to each other, I thought that it would be a bit smarter for me to start off this drawing with the Prismacolor very thin pencil, just copying this from Nathan Fowkes, because he says because of the wax nature of this pencil, actually paint tends to repel away from the pencil mark itself, so that you don't really lose the drawing when you put paint over it. And I have honestly yet to see that happen until this sketch, so I'm actually really excited to show you guys what the power of this pencil is and what the big deal about this is. But anyway, I'm just putting in the big shapes first. I'm starting with the boat itself and also the tarp on the top, the motor at the back, and also the stands that prop up the boat at the bottom. And there's quite a lot of detail that goes into here, but because I am just sat in one spot and not really moving, thank you camera, I am kind of forced to sort of flatten what I see into a 2D image. And I'm not too sure if the image that I'm seeing is a little bit off, but at least it works for the proportion of this page. And I tried not to put in too much detail, but at the same time, there's quite a lot going on here. So I do want to make sure that I get those right. After finishing up my sketch, I did prop up my Art Toolkit watercolor palette back on the arm of the bench, and actually it works quite well. It doesn't really fiddle at all when I put pressure on it via trying to dig out the paint and such, and it's actually really useful to have magnets around, so I'm really glad that I do have that with me. The original intention for me bringing out these magnets is because my camera, the Insta360 Go 2, is magnetic, so just in case I want to prop up cameras in a place where there's no magnet, I kind of stole this trick from a Peter McKinnon video. I can kind of just band-aid or put a tape over the magnet to a surface, and then therefore it becomes a magnetic surface. And because band-aids and masking tapes are usually kind of harmless, like they don't leave behind any residue, it's sort of a good one-way solution to prop up a camera. Not that I've ever had to use these magnets, but I'm so glad that I had them at this point in time, and that I even thought about using it, because I just thought, like, you know, magnets should kind of stick to each other. But anyways, with the sketch, I did want to draw in the sky a little bit. I'm not too sure why. I think it's because the control of the boat is white in its local color, or in its actual color. So I just wanted to make sure that that is separated a little bit from the sky, or separated from the white background at least, but I think it does get separated from the sky as well. And then after kind of drawing this in, blocking in all the big colors and the big shapes, I do notice that the watercolor for this paper doesn't absorb really well, but it actually works great for urban sketching because it means that the colors dry a lot faster, so I'm actually able to work really quickly with this. I know that maybe using a water brush is what causes all these kind of like white marks. You can see that's where I laid my color down, but I actually really prefer this over the hassle of having a water cup and having a brush and then like dealing with all of that. But I don't know, to each their own, and maybe this might not be forever, but at this current phase in life, I do enjoy having a water brush because it's just a lot more convenient. And I am also listening to a podcast. I think I've talked about it before. It's called Beautiful Stories from Anonymous People, hosted by this comedian called Chris Gethard, and he just talks to people for an hour, and it's just so interesting to hear people's like life stories. Like I usually hear podcasts or listen to podcasts that are about like business, the economy, and the world and news, because that's just my line of work. But it's really refreshing just to have something a lot more human to listen to, or a little more personal, or a little more day-to-day that exists kind of outside my job, to remind myself that people have lives too, and there's a lot of different stories. Anyway, back to the art stuff. I actually did really feel the benefit of this Prismacolor pencil. I don't think it's really visible here because we're zoomed so far away, but the pencil actually does repel the paint, and in a very subtle way, and not in a way that you would notice,
but it does repel the paint enough for you to be able to make out the planes, or for me to be able to make out the different planes, so that I don't lose my drawing in the process of coloring my sketch in. And as a result, I am able to still go back and fill in the shapes the way I want to, and it's not too obvious at the end. If anything, the red is a little bit subtle. That's the color that Nathan uses as well, is the red. So I happen to buy the pencil pack that has both the red and the blue, and I'm curious to see how the blue performs as well, but I'm not going to do that soon because I don't really see the point in sharpening like two ends of a pencil. But maybe I'll work my way there, and maybe I'll actually even do it one day, just out of curiosity. But so far the red works quite well for me, and now I'm just putting in all the finishing touches. I'm putting in the details, kind of the number on the boat and everything. Just little things that make the sketch a little bit more complete. And honestly, at this point, it's possible to stop at any time, but I just wanted to make sure I got like the brand of the motor in, got a little bit more dimension to the text, so add a little bit more shadow, and that's about it. I'm just going to finish up with some last few details, and Virtual Becky's gonna sign out.
It is 1:39 and the ferry leaves in 6 minutes. Thankfully the ferry station is just right there, so I'm gonna run and catch it.